Hi guys, so if you, like me, have found yourself lusting after super polished aluminium frames and you've always wondered how to take the paint off your bike and get it to a finish a bit like this, then this could well be the video for you. Now this isn't strictly a how-to because it's something I've never done before. So I actually reached out to the GMBN Tech community to try and get the outlines of a plan before cracking on. So this just documents my experience. There's probably as much to be learned in this what not to do as what to do, but hopefully you'll find it helpful should you want to get your frame like this, which I have to admit, it didn't look like it was going to turn out as good as this at some points, but against all the odds, here we are. So this is how to raw or not to your alloy frame. Now, Nukeproof have very kindly given me this paint defected frame to see if I can work my magic on it. Now, if you look here, but there's definitely something missing on this Nukeproof. So it'll be good to take the paint off, and the cool thing is it's still in a completely rideable condition. Now, luckily enough, my friend, colleague and neighbour, Claudio, let me use his garage, which is a good space. He actually does some pretty cool frame building. He's even got a jig on the wall there. And yeah, so it's all very exciting to see how good I can get this frame looking. So essentially, I want to be removing all the paint, taking it back to the metal, sanding off the rough bits, and then polishing it up to a very high gloss finish. Now, like I said, I reached out to you guys to help me with this video, and boy oh boy did you come up with some stellar advice. Now, a lot of you recommended using Nitromorse to get that top layer of paint off. And Steve from Fort Worth, I hope I'm saying that right, made the point that 90% of it is in the prep work, so don't go rushing into it. Now, Eddie had a great idea that once we apply this Nitromorse, the paint's gonna begin to flake, so you can use a plastic spatula just to drive it up and remove any excess flakes. So great tips there, guys. Let's see how we get on. Now, before I apply the Nitromorse, I'm gonna remove any hardware, so things like, headsets, derailleur hangers, that sort of thing. You might notice I've left the seat clamp on, but I will be getting back onto that in due course. So I've decanted some into the lid, and it's actually quite a thick consistency. Now, really important here, guys, you wanna be in a well-ventilated area for obvious reasons. Now, when you put it on, apparently the trick is to dab it on and not to just brush it out. What we're gonna do is we're gonna apply it, give it 5 minutes, apply another coat, and hopefully it's gonna really make that paint blister up, which will then be easy pickings for us with our spatula. So we just dab it on. I'm just gonna work in box sections here to make sure I don't miss anything. So I'll do the whole of the upper side of the top tube, then I'll do the non-drive side, and I'm just gonna work my way around the whole frame in that hopefully quite systematic manner. At this point, I really felt like I was onto a winner. Little did I know that the paint strip I was using would be as effective of a method as urination. Needless to say, undeterred, I enjoyed an ice cream and waited patiently for subsequently absolutely nothing to happen. So the paint stripper was doing its best. It was doing an okay job, but the process was taking its sweet time. So we're gonna try and accelerate that process by putting some cling film around these tubes. So literally every single tube, nice and close to it. And I'm just gonna do it in squares and blocks and go around the whole frame. So with little in the way of results, I decided to up the ante. If you, like me, have ever nearly lost an eye trying to wrap a cheese and pickle sandwich, you'd understand that auto asphyxiation was a very real risk, but I continued adamant that this would indeed sort itself out. Now, I've been messing around with this paint stripper for the best part of a fair few hours, and nothing much has really happened apart from irritating a few spots. I'm gonna remove as much of this as I can, and then I'm gonna start sanding off the paint. Now, this is going to make achieving that high mirror finish a lot harder to do in the long run, because I'm going to be scratching up that surface, which actually isn't in bad nick. Now, this is something you need to consider if you were to think about doing this to your own bike, because as you're sanding that bike down, you are of course removing material which can infringe upon your warranty. So it's something you have to really, really weigh before you go into it, because there's no going back. Once you've done it, and you say if you cracked the frame, the manufacturer would obviously be able to tell. So it's worth thinking about. So with the sandpaper, I'm starting with something a bit more coarse and working down over time to something a bit smoother, a bit finer to give that good quality finish. And then I'm probably going to finish up by hand. So let's get into it. For the first 5 minutes, sanding was actually good fun. So it's kind of got to the point now I've got most of the paint off, and I hope this is the worst it's going to look, and it's kind of onwards and upwards. I'll be soon getting finer grade of sandpaper and then the Dremel to get around these small bits and in these welds and stuff, which is going to be laborious, but hey ho. But no, it's coming along, we're getting there. Most of the paint's off now, so keep on, I guess. Sadly, my enthusiasm didn't last very long, as it soon started to look worse, which is the opposite of what I wanted. So I've got a second type of paint stripper and tried to kind of scuff up around the welds. I applied it, left it for an hour, I've gone and had some lunch, got a cup of tea, and we're going to open up. And I really, 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 really hope it's done something. Or we'll get this outside. No. Get some gloves on and then we'll have a bit of an inspection. Hopefully it has worked. It will kind of just wipe away a bit. No. No, nothing at all. Now we get the Dremel and we carry on sanding. So now I'm going to progress to the Dremel. So it's got these little kind of fanned sandpaper parts, and it's going to hopefully let me sand the paint off the welds without grounding down the welds themselves. Or at least that's the plan. So let's boot her up. If I can find the button. Don't know what's on the other side. Yeah. That would help. It was at this moment I genuinely considered leaving the frame and any record of my attempt at the very bottom of the canal.
It took it a few clicks back on the old sandpaper, and there's going to be some bike left at the end of it, so.
Still cracking on. I mean, these welds sadly are going to have to be smoothed out with the Dremel. We've done a bit of that and then I got carried away and started polishing the main frame just because I've been going at this for like 2 days now, so I got a bit overexcited. But yeah, back to the Dremel, making a nice job around, like, you know, the bottom bracket, all these kind of joins and junctions, which could be kind of a bit eye-catching if done badly. So similar to sandpaper, you know, you're just going to move down, also up in grit and kind of down in size to give the smoothest finish possible. And some of them are quite hard to get to, almost inaccessible. So a Dremel is definitely needed. I think, you know, maybe if we'd had more success with the paint stripper, it'd be a different story, but just doing it by hand would be hard going. Really, really hard going indeed. But yeah, to that down tube, and actually looks all right considering that's just that was down to a 600 grit, and we've got some thinner than that still, and then obviously polishing and buffing it all up. So yeah, it's going to get hopefully pretty bloody shiny indeed. Anyway, onwards.
Again, the canal seemed tempting, but I decided to try and scuff up around the world and give the paint stripper one last shot at the big time. On the morning, I was like a kid at Christmas, brimming with enthusiasm as I excitedly inspected it, before I realised Father Christmas hadn't left me any presents and Rudolph had left a turd in my stocking. Time to get serious with the sanding. After seemingly flailing my frame alive, I treated it to the metalworker's back rub with some far more gentle sandpapering. It ended up smoother than a mustachioed Timothy Dalton.
So I'm very much not proud of myself, but I'm also very impatient, and right now that seems to be the stronger of the two emotions. I've certainly lightened up the frame a bit around the world, but nearly there. Actually, if you saw it from a distance, you'd say that is a raw frame. It's only when you get close does the full horror of the situation really dawn on you. But not done yet. It's gonna onwards and up. It's gonna get better. It can only get better. And so I'm drawing to a close the arduous process of sanding. I took it up to a 2500 grit paper in the end. And honestly, considering that hasn't even seen a lick of polish yet, I'm actually quite optimistic. There is definitely some of my handiwork earlier on the sandpaper could not undo. The welds are definitely looking quite streamlined. The tubes are probably a lot thinner than when we started, but it looks very nice. Now it's time for me to get all James Bond, get this super shiny. Let's see what we can do. So I consulted the many pages of the internet, and I was highly recommended to use Mother's Mag and aluminium polish in the same way I was recommended to use Nitromorse, may I add. So I don't know what the results are going to be like. Hopefully it's going to give this a really high polish, and I've seen some other YouTube tutorials where it has done a fantastic job. So I'm going to put some on this fluffy end, get buffing. This was the first time that things were actually going like planned. If you hadn't seen the rest of the video, I could almost be in danger of looking like I knew what I was doing, but needless to say, that couldn't last. The end product is that I'm a mixture of relieved and chuffed. There was a great degree of time that the bike resembled something of a patchwork quilt, but it turned out okay. I'm certainly bike tech literate, but completely ignorant when it comes anything close to DIY, if that wasn't already apparent. There is one person though, who is clearly well versed in the methods of do it thyself, and they spoke like an oracle about the appropriate course of action. A paintwork messiah, if you will. Nat Felton called it right away from day one. I salute you, Sensei. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. And also let me know in the comments if you thought I was on a hiding to nothing. I can't blame you if you did, but I like to think that I never truly lost hope. Cheers guys, and we'll see you next time.